And rounding out my January 1st purchases, because they've only just now, as of January 17th, started to show up in the regular retails here in NZ, we have set 76280 Spider-Man vs Sandman Final Battle, a No Way Home complimentary piece which goes alongside the Final Battle that released in 2023, and already covered on this channel by the way. 347 pieces, 3 minifigures, and retailing for, hold on a second here, 80 NZD. Yes, this is essentially LEGO DLC, in which I don't feel that the two sets are nice compatible pieces, but rather this was something that should have always been included in the first place. So does this complete our scene and change my mind on the Final Battle set as a whole? Let's find out. The set overview here is a rather nice display of Sandman, brick built actually for the first time ever in LEGO, and it's about time too. 3 different minifigures, 2 of which are repeats, but the other one is someone that we've been waiting for a very long time now. Again, it is about time. Let's crack right into it. The build acts just like the previous set with that fancy little diorama-ish display at the bottom there, something that I actually really like about this. I like the idea that people can get their hands on a cheaper display piece, though I don't think there will be many people who buy this set alone without the additional battle display. What we have here is a base, some construction gimmicks, and Sandman. Removing some of that extra stuff here, we can take a look at each individual piece, because thankfully Sandman is fully removable from this scene. More on that later. Like I said, a very simple display stand with the same type of details as the main Final Battle set. Different colors are used here for sand-like textures, and some grays for concrete floor. A little fire extinguisher here for good measure. It's all very nice. We've got some scaffolding build here as well, which is pretty similar to the ones from the previous set, attached by a blue Technic pig here, which gives some rotation available to change up the display a little. The most interesting inclusion on this display for me is the yellow tower piece, which adds a little bit of immediate color to a scene that's otherwise brown, tan, and grey. Attached here is a Doctor Strange portal, just like from the other sets, and a small clear stand in the middle for a minifigure to stand on. There's also this really cool newish web piece which looks to have been introduced in the Friends line only recently, and it's only now made its way into the Spider-Man line. It's a sturdier piece than the usual web piece that we're used to, which means that balancing a minifigure on here is a lot easier. And Sandman, like I said here, is fully brick built for the first time ever, using the same build methods that LEGO have been using lately for the construction figures. He's only half a build though, missing those legs entirely. I do love the build shape throughout, and the asymmetrical design does wonders here for that detail. Stickers are here, and there's some rocky claw pieces for extra details of sandy formations. The arms are standard mech-like arms with some nice elbow bends here and even articulation. I didn't think that they would go this far, but I am glad that they did. He also has these nice shoulder pads here, which means you can rotate his arms up and down, and he'll still hold on to that nicely designed silhouette for his arms. What really surprised me as I built were his hands. The hand here is the standard mech-like hand that I do really like, using those robot arms from the Exoforce line for fingers, and it has full articulation here as well. Really fun to pose around with. But the other hand is a completely different build entirely, opting in to be a much larger design that can then be used to interact with minifigures. The fingers here are giant with some sticker details and extra articulation. There's a stud on the inside of the hand here for a minifigure to be standing on, which makes it seem as though Sandman has grabbed onto them. This is your side-by-side comparison for both of these crazy hands, and the head was really cool to build as well because it uses the construction figures like head plate, and I don't have any of those sets myself, so it was a nice way to see exactly how those work. For connecting onto the set, Sandman just slots inside that little gap there at the base. You do need to make sure that it's going in the right way. It's a rectangle space, so the shaping is actually specific in its functionality. You can't just throw him in there like I was previously expecting. And he looks like this overall. It's really good, and I was really impressed once I finally built this thing. As for the minifigures go, we'll start with the weakest one but the most necessary. This is the Tom Holland Spider-Man figure. He is the exact same figure from the Final Battle set, which released in 2023, but he is missing the alternative head and hairpiece to make him resemble Tom Holland. So what would I have liked to have seen here instead? Maybe a battle damage version of Spider-Man, something that we've actually been missing from all of these movie sets ever since the first ones came out for the first movie. I understand the reuse here, Spider-Man is a mandatory figure, it just would have been nice to have seen something a little different. And this is Electro, who again is the exact same figure from that Final Battle set, but he is missing something pretty important here. They've swapped out his interesting electric pieces from that set, and they've replaced them with these much more toned down smaller pieces, but if I'm completely honest here, I think these pieces work just as much. It's a lot easier to maintain and display, personally. I don't like the big overkill accessories that LEGO will sometimes give a minifigure. A repeat variant is disappointing, but we don't have too many Electro minifigures to begin with, so I'm okay with this repeat. But here we have Lizard, who is is our first ever LEGO Lizard for the Spider-Man theme in a minifigure form, and I have to say, I have come around on this minifigure once I built the set. Design-wise, I'm not that big of a fan, but that's not really on LEGO, more so on Sony. I think the colors work really well here for the minifigure, and the tail piece being a reuse of the dinosaur persons from the CMF series is a really good piece to be using, rather than the part that we kind of all thought that they would use. A lack of pupils does bother me, but I do think that the figure is better in person than when I was originally seeing the reveal images. I wish we had a comic variant by this point though with the lab coat, and I'm sure we'll get him eventually, but when we do, he needs to have a molded head please. Attaching these guys onto the display is pretty easy. Electro can go on the scaffolding here over by the end, Lizard can be placed coming through the portal on that nice little clear piece, and Spider-Man I have balancing on his web. The real question that you're wondering is, how does this all connect onto the final battle scene? Really well actually, there's just a couple of hiccups. The instructions do have their own step-by-step on how to combine everything, but if I'm honest, it's not really that clear to me. Sandman is easy, the rest of it isn't. You can remove him from his own set right here. With that Statue of Liberty set, you just have to take off the top of the crown and remove Sandman's hand from inside that lackluster inclusion there. Be sure to rotate that lower section around so that the plate with the stud is facing the back of the set, and after some jamming around, Sandman can easily fit into place. You can pose him around and everything, and it's really quite secured in there actually. The hand, you can put that wherever, it doesn't really matter. To my surprise, you can also attach the construction parts. This is where it's a little confusing to me though. The instructions kind of indicated to me that the yellow pole goes in there, and it works really well, but you can see it has a bit of a weird connection. It's interfering with the rest of the scaffolding there, so you probably need to rearrange a couple of other pieces there. The other scaffolding piece is really easy to connect. You just attach it to the rest of the scaffolding there. It looks pretty good actually as a complete set and a display. I do really like how that yellow tower piece and extra scaffolding look when connected, and the build is a lot more dynamic now than it was before, and it was already pretty much almost there. That means that left over you have two additional minifigures, the display for the Sandman set and the head of the Statue of Liberty, and there's nowhere to really put them, so just chuck them I guess. The box for the set is the standard $50 size box, upscaled to 80 NZD. Yes, 80 NZD, which is $50 USD FYI for that crowd. LEGO Marvel has had a terrible problem with their prices lately, and it is ridiculous. Good thing I got this for 20% off though. The box does look nice. We have our figures here at the bottom looking pretty good, and the top of the box features a lizard up here. It's like they knew who we wanted or something. The back of the box features all of the gimmicks of the set that were hopefully all covered in the video. You can wrap the web around the figures, that I did not know, so sorry. Sandman is movable and Spider-Man can attach onto the web there. The instructions are a single booklet like every other set, with the addition of combining instructions at the back here. A final image of what the set looks like altogether, your inventory list, the Wind Pirate, and that's about it. I'm impressed with the Sandman set a lot more than I thought I would be. The small base is nice, the actual build for Sandman is very well thought out, and the Lizard minifigure is really cool, and it makes up for the two repeat figures and a complete scenario for a really nice display. But that means that this thing in total comes together at 260 NZD, and that minifigure count is really good for that price, really, but if you're not familiar with my views on that set, I don't like it very much. I think those minifigures are lacking in very important areas, and the lack of a Sandman and a Lizard minifigure, but an insistent push for the Ned, MJ, and Doctor Strange, it will still always annoy me. What you see here should have always been sold to us from the start, especially when you consider the fact that once you've built both sets together, you're not actually using all of that $80 set here. For one thing, half the build is absent from the combination, and two of the minifigures are also repeats. Sandman always should have been included in here, even as just a head, body, and one arm. I think that it's all worth buying as a complete collection, but it needs to be on a sale price. If you enjoyed this look at a LEGO Marvel 2024 release set, liking this video and subscribing to the channel does help to support us make more videos like this. Ka kite anō.